This is the Reds Down Under podcast, the best place to follow the Reds in Australia. Enjoy the show.
We are the Reds Down Under, and this is our podcast.
Hello everyone, this is Ready Steady Cook. This is Reds Down Under, and this is a very different sort of episode this week. We've got Keith Salmon on, who is a writer from Liverpool. He writes books from a Liverpool fan's perspective, and he's from Liverpool. He currently lives in the Isle of Man. Keith, how you doing, mate?
I'm doing good, thanks, Tom. Thanks for inviting me on, mate. Really appreciate it.
No, of course, mate.
First time I've been here to speak to the Reds Down Under. Yeah.
Yeah, well, there's plenty of us here, mate. There's plenty of us here in Australia.
I know, it's like... I know my first book sold out down in Australia in 2009. It was sold well down there, and I've got friends down there now. When I launched this book, I ended up at the Red Weekender, which was the Crystal Palace weekend.
Yeah.
And I met loads from Australia, and they were all like zombies because they'd all like just got off the plane and that, but they were all really excited to be there. So I got to speak. So I know the book's already hit Australian shores anyway. I know that for a fact.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, like, as I say, there's so many Reds over here. There's so many Reds who we had sort of connections with through the podcast, who were all going over there. And I think, they were all just running on coffee and beer. Like, they were either having a coffee or they were having beer. But no, as you say...
Or one in each hand.
One in each hand, whatever works for you, mate, you know what I mean? I don't care. Like... So as you say, this is your second book. How did you get into that? How did you get into writing books as a football fan?
It was by accident, really, to be fair, because taking it back to 2005, I made an epic journey to Istanbul. And the epic journey was from the Isle of Man. I sort of got my ticket with 10 minutes before I got on the plane. And then I took 5 planes. To get there and back, I took 5 planes, 4 trains, a walk across a dodgy border, all on my own as well. Met my mates in Istanbul. And obviously at half time, it was like, what have I done this for? You know what I mean? It was nuts. And then by the end of it, it was like one of the greatest nights of my life. Not allowed to call it the greatest night in my life because my wife pulls me up on that one if she hears it.
Yeah,
so
for sure,
my
mate,
wedding night's the greatest night of my life. That's it. I get corrected often on that one. But the journey was great, and I sort of kept... I'd done this since I was a kid, really. Kept little bullet point notes of things that I'd do. And when I came back, I wrote a short story. And one of the girls in work who I shared it with was in a reading group. She said, you should write a bit more. That's really good. So I wrote a bit more, and then I wrote quite a cathartic chapter on the Hillsborough disaster because I was there in 1989. So I wrote a chapter about that, and all of a sudden went, I'm going to write a book. Never believing I was going to write a book, and before you knew it, I probably had about 15 or 16 chapters, and it become a book. And I self-published at that time, and it went really well. I think I sold around about 4,500 copies for a self-published book. That's supposed to be really good.
Yeah, it's pretty.
And it's sold in over 30 countries to Reds all around the world.
Yeah, 4,500 copies is fucking great, isn't it? That's half of Bournemouth Stadium, mate, if you think of it that way.
Yeah, well, the average self-published book sells about 200, I believe. So I'd just like to thank the Reds around the world who read it, really. And, they really liked it because it was the story of going and following Liverpool. And it was the things that... What attracted, match-going Reds to it was they had those experiences. And people who couldn't go to match so often, it was their dream to do what I'd done. Trips to, whether it be Barcelona or Real Madrid or just Wembley trips, and growing up as a Liverpoolian with my dad, and I grew up on stories of Rome. They were legend in our house. My dad was in Rome in '77 and in Bruges in '73, and You've seen him win the European Cup like 3 times, and like, so like I wanted to do that. So when I started doing it, I had loads of stories, and I've been quite lucky since I was a kid to have those stories. And I think what Hillsborough gave me was a different perspective on life. I think with Hillsborough, I had that view where life's a living, just like tomorrow's not guaranteed. And I think the really the saddest of events with Diogo Jota last week, it's like you never know the minute. So while you're here, you got to do what you can, and Hillsborough gave me that perspective. So I always said, well, I'll go anywhere on my own, and the only time I ever had to go anywhere was Istanbul. And there was one time when I went to Barnsley in a league match where there was a riot in the car park, and I was regretting going on my own, But it gave me that lust for life and the chance to go and do stuff. And I always went, I'll do it. And generally, you found someone who'd go and do it with you. It's just Istanbul was a bit difficult because everyone was going from Liverpool, and I was going from a rock in the middle of the Irish Sea. So it made a great book, made a great story. And I say, I was a banker by trade. I was working in a bank. I was working in finance, so writing was just like something I did on the side. And one of the things with my job was I was traveling the world, Dubai and Africa and places like that. I had loads of time. So you either went to the bar or you wrote. I wrote. So every night I could knock 2,000 or 3,000 words up. So, I had that time and ability. And then this one has took me another 16 years to write. So not exactly prolific, but it's the feedback is it's been worth waiting for.
Well, let me ask you about that then. So the first book that you did, we had Dreams and Songs to Sing, obviously based on a famous song that we all sing. Your new book, 16 years.
Well, no, they stole my title.
Oh, so you're suggesting the Fields of Anfield Road was written after your book? Yeah. I'm not having it, Keith. You can't have that one. Not on here, mate. I'm calling bullshit on that one.
No. And there's something the cop wants you to know. Yeah.
And the new one, yeah. So your new book, there's something that the cop wants you to know, which is obviously from the Bobby Firmino song. What took you so long, mate, to write that second book?
2 kids, and it's a life story, so I needed a bit of life. And I'm one of the things that happened was every time I nearly finished it, something great would happen. You go, I need to write another chapter, or there'd be something that would happen. And like I pretty much had it finished in 2021, I think it was, and then 2022 we were amazing, and we were going for all 4, and there was like trips to Paris, and there was all sorts going on, and it just made another chapter. So I had to write about that. So then I had to finish again. A nearly glorious last chapter, where we went 2 out of 4, great season, but Paris left a sour taste and things like that. And then you go, okay, I'm ready, I'm done. And then Jurgen decides to retire, and you go, I've got to write about that, haven't I? So so I got more words. And one of the things with the book was, at one point I spoke to another great lad called Jeff Goulden. He's written 6 on Liverpool now, including 4 in the Liverpool Odyssey. And he'd be great to get on at some point for you as well. He's a really good fella, Jeff. And I was talking to him, and I had 160,000 words, and he just laughed at me. And he went, no publisher's going to touch 160,000 words like that. That's like Tolstoy or something like that. So he said, you need about 100,000. I said, well, I can't get rid of 60,000. Like, every chapter you write is really personal. They're all personal stories. He said, well, yeah, you just got to get rid of some chapters. If they don't really fit in the book, you just got to go, there's a chapter, say 7,000 words. You got to save quite a bit, really. And as it turned out, when I started chomping them down, I ended up with this lovely bookend of Jurgen Klopp's years, from when he came to when he left. And my son then come on the journey with me as well. So it became the ultimate dad and lad book. And that was the bit where it probably wasn't designed to be that originally, but it's turned out really well, actually. And, you know, it starts off with losing my own dad, which is 10 years ago now. And he gave me the passion for the Reds. And now I've given it to my lad, to Charlie. And that's like the rites of passage generally in Liverpool is, you know, you get it off your dad, unless you don't like him, and then he was usually an Evertonian, you know what I mean? So it's like it's passed down from father to son, and that's what the story is about. And he's been lucky enough to come to some amazing places, and they're all in the book. You know, he's been to Madrid, to Paris, to Toulouse, which actually isn't in the book, but he's been to Wembley a few times. He's actually seen them win stuff now. We win the cups, and he's seen them win the league this year, which is amazing. And he's gone from being that little kid in the corner of the pub with a bottle of pop and a packet of crisps, saying, "Can we go to match yet? Can we go?" To actually becoming mates with my mates, and now getting around him.
Yeah.
You know, and
You're
my
close.
mates are his mates, which is lovely to see.
You're close to getting kicked out the group, aren't you, really, Keith? It sounds like your lad might be
Say that again, Tom, sorry.
It sounds like your lad might be taking over in the group, mate. You might be getting kicked out.
Well, to be fair, if he gets his A-level results, he'll be going to uni in Liverpool, and then I'll never see my season ticket again. And they actually like him more than like me. So
Well, next time we'll get Charlie on the podcast instead then. So, I mean,
well, I'll get on here, mate, and then you'll regret saying that.
As long as he brings the beer. So the book then,
Yeah.
the book really uses, as you know, almost Jurgen Klopp's time at Liverpool as a vessel, to tell that sort of story between you and your lad Charlie. When we sort of had a pre-chat, didn't we? A couple of weeks ago about, you know, getting you on the podcast, and we were quite lucky. We went, I think, on quite a few of the similar sort of journeys as a Liverpool fan under Jurgen Klopp. You know, Wembley, Munich, Kiev, but we were talking about, you go to these places, you see these big moments, big goals, and all that, but it's all about the people that you do it with, mate, isn't it? So how was it? How was that, doing that with your lads? That must be one of the best things you can do.
Yeah, it was really, and you know, there's a few tiers to that really. I sort of tried to break him in gently, you know, to another away game here and things like that. But the first time was, I took him to Europe. Liverpool played in the Audi Cup in Munich in August. And it was Liverpool, Napoli, Atletico Madrid, and Bayern Munich on a 4-team tournament over 2 days. So on the first day, Liverpool played Bayern Munich. So I thought that'll be safe to take him. You don't have to worry. You know, it'll be just a nice, dead, comfortable introduction into it. And it was amazing. You know, it was 100 degrees. It was roasting, like, but. He loved it, and he got to meet Sadio Mane. And Sadio Mane was such a beautiful man, such a wonderful fella. He actually he was cycling off up the hill after training, and he come back because Charlie shouted him. And Charlie had his shirt, and Mane signed his shirt, and that's like a prized possession now. But Mane was such a beautiful fella, lovely, lovely fella, so patient. Like, Charlie's trying to get like a selfie, and it's taking about 5 minutes to do it, but no bother to Mane at all. So he had that. We actually did a bit of history in there as well, because we took him to Dachau, which was one of the work camps in the Second World War under the Nazi regime, which is like quite a big thing to do, really. But Charlie was really interested in history, and hopefully history is what he'll study at uni. So we got to do that. We've got a couple of games in. One of my mates come with me as well, Tommy. We had a fabulous time, and he got a real thirst for it, and he goes, "I want to go again. But trying to get tickets for Europe is like really, really difficult. So the next time I managed to get a ticket for a away game was Atletico Madrid, just after we won the Champions League in Madrid. So I thought, well, nobody will want to go to Madrid again within 6 months. And so, tickets will pop up. And luckily one did pop up. But we had a day around Madrid where me and my mates could have a drink and a laugh and a chat. And Charlie just drank Coke all day and ate as much tapas as his body could take, which turns out to be a lot of tapas as well. But he had an absolute ball. And we met some Spanish guys, Atletico Madrid supporters. And at first it was a little bit scary because actually this big bear of a fella comes hurtling towards me. And as it turned out, all he wanted to do was have a chat. But his mate was a Liverpool fan from Madrid, and he interpreted for us the Spanish. And he made Charlie say some rude things about Sergio Ramos, which was quite funny. But he just wanted to know, did you like Madrid? Did you have a good time? What did you think the score was going to be? What you normally do. And Charlie was right, and we met some other drunk Madrid fans, and they were great. And at the end, Liverpool got beat 1-0 and just didn't turn up. They just didn't turn up on the night. And, Atletico Madrid just spoiled it. And at the end, Charlie went, I've had a great time. I'm upset we got beat, but those fellas would have had a great time, won't they? I went, yeah. You went, well, that's what it's all about, isn't it? Meeting nice people. I went, yeah, that's what it is.
That's exactly what it's all about, isn't it?
Yeah, you go to great places, you meet wonderful people, you respect people's cultures, you go and see a bit of the city that you're in. It's a lovely, lovely experience, to be fair. And he had a great time. The only downside was on the plane on the way home, we went via Barcelona. You'll get the taste that I never go anywhere straight from A to B. We went via Barcelona. And the woman on the plane from Barcelona to Gatwick in front of me was coughing her heart up. She was coughing like mad for like a couple of hours. And I pushed Charlie to one side. I made him sit a couple of seats over. So I took the full brunt of it. For 6 weeks, I then had COVID. It was the start of COVID. So I was probably the first person on the Isle of Man to have it. And it was all because of Liverpool. And then I kept going to doctors, and the doctor I think I might have that. He goes, have you been to Milan? I went, no, but I've been to Madrid. He went, it's only if you've been to Milan. Madrid was already a hotspot, and the news never got to the Isle of Man for that long. But Charlie went from thinking, I'm gonna change the world here. I'm gonna go and watch Liverpool every away game in Europe, to being locked in his house for a year.
Yeah,
it was a big come down.
It's a big culture shock, that, isn't it? Because when you're going the game regularly, you're going the away games and everything, you're in such a constant state of like mobility, aren't you? Because you might go to Anfield on a Saturday, then you might go to, I don't know, Barnsley on a Wednesday, Portsmouth on a Sunday, Milan on the next Wednesday. So you just, and I'm not saying I went every game every week. I didn't. I couldn't afford that. But I went as many as I could. And I remember actually, Keith, because that game, I don't know if you remember, but when Madrid Atletico came back to Anfield, it was highly controversial because they reckon it spiked COVID in Liverpool, don't they? It was huge.
Yeah. Well, they had 3,000 people coming from Madrid, and they reckon that was the trigger event. That and Cheltenham races, I think, as well. They were big spike events. But as you say, they brought 3,000 people from a COVID hotspot to middle of Liverpool, and everyone was mixing. Yeah, and it did, and it was a bit of a strange day, that, because that day we buried my uncle, actually, my uncle Dave, and he's in the book. That he was the stuff of legend as well, because he was in Rome with my dad, and I always remember that day because, like, as tradition happens in Liverpool, Coffin comes into, like, a decent song, but as it goes to be cremated, You Never Walk Alone comes on. So when you sing You Never Walk Alone, it's always really special. And the way the game went that night, you went, they're doing it for Dave, like, you know what I mean? Because it was a beautiful You Never Walk Alone. Liverpool played really well, should have been through. And I just went, ugh. And then the rest of the month started to go, and it just got worse and worse and worse. And before you know it, they're playing behind closed doors or not playing at all. And then the world changed on its axis, didn't it?
Yeah, it was a crazy time, mate. I mean, I sort of joke about it because I was in Australia at the time. I was living in Canberra, and
Yeah.
I'm watching the news, Keith, right? And the military are driving tanks through the streets of Milan, right? And we're in the
Yeah.
boozer in Canberra. People are shaking hands. People are pulling lads, pulling birds. Like, it was like, honestly, in Canberra for a long time, it was like COVID didn't exist. It was
Yeah. Yeah.
very, very strange for a long time. It was like we were watching the pandemic as like an audience. And then obviously, then we
Well,
start getting a couple of lockdowns and everything. But
yeah.
yeah, crazy times.
Well, we had where we were. Obviously, we're only like 80 miles from Liverpool, across the water, sort of thing. But our island could lock its borders down and not come in, and we didn't have any cases for ages. And we come out of lockdowns early, and we had normal life quite quickly, really, except you couldn't get off to go to Liverpool. So the night Liverpool win the league, we're watching on the telly, and over there, everyone's sort of like, they're not supposed to, but they're all heading to the pier head or they're all heading to Anfield and things like that. And you go, and it never really felt like you won the league. And we always said, oh, we'd celebrate. But by the time everything opened up again, it was gone a good year before we got back to Anfield. So there was no celebration left. So when we won it the other week or the other month against Tottenham, that was a huge let off because we were celebrating 2 titles. That's the way it felt. So it was really special, yeah. So sometimes it was a curse to be here, and then other times it wasn't because it was a great life, because life was pretty normal. We were going to work and things like that, and even in lockdown, 5 minutes from my house is like some of the most beautiful countryside in Britain. So, you go for a walk with the dog and stuff like that. It was fine. You never really bumped into anything. So, life was a bit normal then.
Yeah, and I think in the Isle of Man as well, Keith. You guys have only just got the internet, haven't you? And colour TV.
Yeah, we got it on wind up now.
You got to put 50p in the meter to get the internet.
Toilets at last, yeah.
So I mean,
no, yeah, got dial up.
Yeah, it sounds like, I mean, we would have, under Klopp there, we would have been going to quite a few of the same games actually, Keith. That year we won the Champions League was a special one for me personally, because I don't know whether it was just I felt it coming after Kiev, and we'd been brilliant in the league, and I don't know whether I'd felt it coming, but I really tried to just be at as many games of football as I could. And it was that year actually was the year I decided to move to Australia. We went to Munich when we beat them in the Allianz that year. That was a special trip.
That was one of the greatest. That was one of the greatest nights as a Liverpudlian in Europe. That one, definitely.
Our boss was that, mate. Our boss is Munich to go as a Liverpool fan.
Oh, it was brilliant. Because I'd been waiting to go there since 1981. So, like Liverpool beat them in the semi-finals in 1981 to get to Paris. And Howard Gale tore Bayern Munich to bits after coming on for Dalglish. He tore them to bits that much that he even got substituted again, like, because he'd run himself into the ground. So my dream was always to go to Munich, and that's in the book. I want to go to Munich. And it's at one point, at the beginning of the Klopp area, I actually get to go to Munich, but they don't play Bayern Munich. They play Augsburg, and it was in the Europa League. and it was like but it was my chance to go to Munich. So I went to Munich, and basically Munich and Augsburg are like half an hour apart. There's no distance at all, and it's a little German town, little smart little stadium. One of the coldest nights of my life watching Liverpool. It was so cold, but I've been lucky to get a ticket off a player, and my other mate, he wasn't so lucky. He got locked out, so he ended up being back in Munich and watching it on the telly. But yeah, we'd gone to Hofbrau house in the middle of Munich. We'd had an absolute ball, to be fair. Getting the train back to Stuttgart at 4 a.m. in the morning for a 7 o'clock flight wasn't so much fun. But you know, that's what you do. I'm not sure I can do it so much anymore now. I've done an overnight boat to here the other day, and it took me 4 days to get over it. So maybe my days of doing that are a bit past. But yeah, we did that. But then when he drew Bayern Munich in the European Cup, I'm not calling it Champions League, I'm going to call it European Cup. That was a brilliant trip, and I went like via Innsbruck, and it was like Innsbruck was a cheaper flight, 2 hours train, and I met a great lad called Gary Shaw who wrote a couple of books on Liverpool, and we just had a great time. Do you know what I mean? Going on the way, and then I met my mates there, and sadly, one of my mates is in the book, Arthur. I'd worked with him in Jersey. He was from Jersey. Well, he actually from Liverpool, but he was working in Jersey. And unfortunately, he passed away a couple of weeks ago. He had MND. And my abiding memory is drinking Steins with him in Munich. And he was just a great fella. Do you know what I mean? And I've got a lovely picture of him in the book. And I said, you know, he passed away the other week. And he had a Liverpool flag on his coffin. And, you know, they play You Never Walk Alone. And just a great lad, and you meet so many great people on these trips. Some you know the names of, some you don't know the names of, some you've seen since the 80s, and some are just like, I know a lot of the young ones now as well, like a lot of the lads in their early 20s who were just having the ball going around Europe, and I'm watching them from my phone as jealous as hell half the time as well. Do you know what I mean? And they've got stories to tell. You know, I'm lucky I've got them down in the book. But some people have better stories than me as well, like, so you'd like to read their stories.
Oh, mate, like, I love it, mate, because one of my favourite things about going, I think no matter where you go, away from home as a Liverpool fan, just stay there with me, Keith. I'm not going to pause the podcast, but I am going to shut the blinds because it's sunrise here in Sydney, and I'm getting blinded. You can see the sun behind me. I'm getting blinded.
I can see the suntan. Yeah.
Yeah. But the stories you get from, like, you know, the R boys on the coach who went, you know, with the last game of the season when we won the league at Stamford Bridge and Kenny scored. Yeah. He was the player manager and all that. And you're listening to these stories, and
I was there. I'm that old. I was there.
All the R boys. But you were young then, weren't you? You were a bit young then. You were a bit sprightly. Yeah.
I was only 20 then, and it was funny because half our coach didn't come home. Got a coach down from Liverpool in the morning, and half the coach didn't come home, and I didn't understand why. Now I know why. They just stayed in London and got wellied, you know what I mean? They had a great time. And they go, I'll get home in the morning somehow. I'll get the mail train, or when you win something, you want to celebrate it.
Yeah.
And I get that. Yeah.
I remember a story.
So I'm an old boy now. Thanks very much, Tom.
Hey, nothing wrong with being an old boy, mate. You've got stories to tell. I remember we had me dad on recently. I don't know if you've seen it. But he was sort of telling us.
Not yet. I'll look at that one.
He was sort of telling us, like, what it was like being a Red in the 80s. And actually, I've just remembered a story that he told me years ago, but he didn't mention it on the pod, so I'll say it now. And I remember it came up because he said to me, I was going down to London for a game. I think we were playing Arsenal in the FA Cup. And I think it was the game. I don't know if you remember this game. It was the one Suarez got denied like two stone cold penalties. Like, it was absolutely disgusting. Howard Webb was the referee.
Yeah.
Anyway, and my dad was like,
Oh, there you go. Says it all.
yeah, exactly. And my dad was like, oh, did you get a ticket for the train? And I was like, yeah. And he was like, oh. And he told me this story. He said he remembers all the lads on the would be on like one coach on the train, and it'd be that many people would like smoke weed. Like, the ticket inspector would open the door to the coach and like run through the coach so he wouldn't get stoned. He said no one on the coach, no one ever got their tickets checked at all, because the ticket inspector would just fucking bolt through it. Like, well, let's talk about Jürgen when he came in, because I think Jürgen changed a lot for us as fans, mate. He said he wanted to turn doubters into believers, and I think he did it, didn't he?
Yeah. Oh, he's certainly done that, mate. Yeah, certainly done that. And I think we had a real buzz under Brendan Rodgers where they got so close to winning it, and like they went, and some of the football he played under Rodgers was amazing, but it was like trying to keep the same 11 lads on the pitch each week. That's all they had. They had quite a weak squad, I think, overall. But when he just didn't get over the line, obviously Stevie slipped and all that sort of stuff, and it was. You can't win the league conceding 53 goals or whatever it was. Like, you just can't win the league being so porous. So the following season, you went, okay, well, we're going to do it. We'll do well, and it was terrible. They were terrible, weren't they? I think it culminated in like getting beat 6-1 at Stoke, and I always thought Brendan Rodgers was really lucky to make it into the next season, really. So when he came, I think if you look at the team that Klopp inherited, it was a real mismatch of people. There was some quality in there, but some people who needed to move on quite quickly. And it was like, a 0-0 at Tottenham in his first game was a really good result. And he had a lot of work to do. And he had a lot of work to do with us, I think because we'd had that buzz. Remember Maker's Dream? That was the big flag. And we had the coach welcomes from them coming in. And then the following season, it was so sour, and people started turning on each other again. And then what he did was, I think Jürgen realised, you've got to have, if you've got the pitch, the boys on the pitch, and the guys and girls in the stands together as one, it's like an unstoppable force. You can't have one without the other. If only one of them's working, like the guys on the pitch are great, but the stands aren't, or the stands are great, it just doesn't work. You got. It's like harmony. It's like that family feel, I think you mentioned before. And he realised that you needed character on the pitch that people in the stands would relate to. That hard work and that passion, and going the extra mile and really wanting to win for the people in. You see all of a sudden he got that, and he started to build it. And there's the key moments, isn't it, where he goes to the Kop. They've just drawn with West Brom 2-2. In the last minute they scored, and he goes and he makes them bow in front of the Kop, and he looked almost apologetic, the players, going, we don't really want to do this, but he realised that actually those people up there will respect you for what you've just done, because you kept going to the 95th minute or whatever.
Yeah.
And the crowd actually lapped it up. All our like Man United fans, Everton fans, they were all laughing at us. But actually, if you really got it, you went, that's the key moment in Jurgen Klopp's reign. And from that moment forward, people went, these boys will run through the brick wall for us, because they run through the brick wall for him, and he'll defend us, and he will back us, and he won't have a bad word said about us as long as we get behind the team. Because he was looking at people who were leaving on the 85th minute. He's going like, what are you doing? These boys are still playing for you. And it's like, I think, remember Shankly said it was the biggest privilege in the world to play for these people. And Klopp got that as well. But Klopp also made us responsible for supporting them as well. He made us support them. And I thought it was a really clever move. And then all of a sudden, you've got the likes of Boss Nights starting to grow. You know, Jamie Webster. I remember going to, I think it was Sound in, I think it's Fleet Street in the middle of Liverpool, and it only holds about 200. And it was one of the first days where he was playing the guitar, and he wasn't doing the Liverpool songs. He was doing all sorts of like classic modern hits and Salisbury Hill by Peter Gabriel and things like that. But actually, the police came and closed that down because there ended about 500 people in this 200 people bar, and there was a real buzz about every time Boss Nights did something. And then he got bigger and bigger and bigger. And if you see the journey of Boss Nights, it goes with the journey of the players. And, you know, it culminates in, I think it was probably 60,000 people in Paris, in one of the widest boulevards of Paris. And, you know, that was on the back of 50,000 people in Madrid. And you, as you said the other week, you were in Kiev. You got Shevchenko Park, which was probably their defining moment. And you just go, what they've done for fan culture and the songs and the things like that, you know, it's amazing, you know, and the soundtrack of the last couple of weeks, unfortunately, is, you know, for Diogo, is, you know, that song, Oh, He Wears the Number 20, they come off the terraces, do you know what I mean? And there's something the cop wants you to know. I was there the night that was probably born in Paris, and then LA. I was there in Porto, luckily enough, in the rain of Porto. These songs catch on, and now everybody's singing versions of them as well, aren't they?
Yeah,
and they're not always unique to us, but the words are, you know.
Yeah.
And that fan culture, you know, where there's a guitar on every corner at the moment. You can't move the guitars in Liverpool, you know, but it's like it's created that everyone wants to be part of this gang. Everyone wants to be a Liverpudlian. So that's brilliant, but you've got to put trophies on the pitch as well, and Jürgen did that. He said he'd win a championship, didn't he? And he did. You know, within 4 years, he'd won the European Cup, and that's what he calls a championship. And, you know,
And
I think you said before, didn't you, about Kiev?
Yeah.
Sorry, Tom.
No, go
Kiev
on, mate. Yeah.
felt the start of something. Yeah, Kiev felt the start of something, not the end of something. And you said, like, I think you said you had this feeling that season, the following season in Madrid, something special was going to happen. And on the back of Kiev, it would be dead easy to get to Kiev and go, oh, that's our chance gone again. But no one felt that. We all come out, and within an hour after the game, we're all buzzing again, going, it's coming. It's definitely coming.
Yeah.
And I think if he wasn't up against City, he'd have had so many more championships. Sorry, like, you know.
I think.
But yeah, he created it, and he certainly turned doubters to believers.
Yeah, I mean, you know, you were talking there about that season. We got beat 6-1, didn't we, by Stoke, and Stevie's last game.
Yeah, and they all went to Dubai.
They went to Dubai, yeah, for a piss up, like, and you know, whatever. But then that season, I remember going away to Newcastle, and we got beat 1-0. I think Mario Balotelli was up front, and he looked like he had 2 left feet. He was absolutely shocking. When Jürgen came in, I think when you bring a manager in like that who was very, very highly regarded, because if you remember, Keith, the talk was Klopp or Ancelotti, wasn't it, at the time? And I was actually, I'll be honest, I was sort of in the Ancelotti camp. I was like, he's won the Premier League, he's won the European Cup. I think he's won 2 European Cups at this point. I think he's won like 9 or something now, hasn't he, the bastard? But I love Carlo Ancelotti, and when Jürgen got the job, and that first Tottenham game, and don't get me wrong, we weren't brilliant, but the players ran the socks off, didn't they?
Ran the socks off.
Yeah. And I don't know what was the turning point, really. I do remember the West Brom game, and I'll be honest with you, I did sort of like it. I liked the bow and everything, but at the same time, I think I was a little bit embarrassed. I was a bit like, what's this?
Yeah.
What's this? This is a bit weird.
Yeah, we don't do that.
Yeah, we've just drawn. But it's hard for me to really pick out a point that I can really remember saying things are changing here. I think we
Can I
played.
can I pick one out for you?
Yeah, go on, because I wonder if it might be the same one as me.
Norwich City, when Adam Lallana scores in the last 5 seconds when he win 5-4.
5-4, yeah. And he loses his glasses and everything, doesn't he?
He loses his glasses, yeah.
Oh, your video's dropped out. You're back. You're all right. Yeah, that 5-4 was unbelievable. I didn't watch the game live. I was actually working and I was getting the live updates from Sky Sports on my phone. You know when it goes yellow when there's a change in score. I was like, what the fuck's going on?
Yeah.
And we beat.
Changing all the time, yeah.
Yeah, we beat Man City at the Etihad, I think, on New Year's Day.
Yeah.
3-1, I think maybe it was. That felt like a big moment as well under Jurgen Klopp, and obviously the Borussia Dortmund day.
Yeah, that was one of the greatest nights of European football in our history until we beat Barcelona. You know, that was my Saint Etienne. Like, you know, when you say the Al fellas, I'm not old enough, unfortunately, to have Saint Etienne as my own game sort of thing. So Dortmund was like just one of those nights in Europe until Barcelona come along. And then that blew it out the water. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's meant when you go, it blew it out the water. When, you know, the Dortmund game was amazing. And I was like 6 seats away from the German fans as well. And they never shut up for ages until like Lovren planted that header. And then they were like just shell-shocked. It was great.
Yeah.
It was absolutely amazing. Do you know what I mean?
I was telling the story a couple of weeks ago. My mate Adam, he's still back in Liverpool, like. But we're telling the story about that Borussia Dortmund game because we're watching the game and it's 3-3, right? And we're going out on away goals, aren't we? Because it was away goals then.
Yeah.
4-4 on aggregate. And the guy
Yeah.
turns around in front of us and he's like, "We'll do these in extra time." I was like, "Mate, there won't be an extra time. We're going out on away goals." And he literally just turns around, starts fucking screaming, "Come on, Reds!" Like the guy must have been like, "We're gonna do these, we're gonna do them." I was like, "Nah, mate, we're out. And then obviously Dejan.
Yeah.
Dejan pops up. I mean, loads of highs in that period, mate. You were talking about when we had our call the other week. You were talking about you were just about to go to Madrid for the European Cup final.
Yeah.
In what was going to be one of the best times of your life. But you were also struggling in other ways, mate, weren't you? Mentally.
Yeah.
Will you talk to us about that?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I think it's important to talk about it. That's why I put it in the book, actually, because I thought when I was writing the book, it's very honest. Like, and I think I just thought I wouldn't be doing myself any favors if I wasn't honest, and other people. I think it's sometimes good to hear other people go, actually, I wasn't in a great place, and it was funny really because we'd just beaten Barcelona 4-0, and we got the Champions League final, and I was going to Madrid and I had all my flights booked and all that sort of stuff, and then just out the blue, I just like, well, to be fair, it probably wasn't out the blue really. If you're honest about it, the signs were there in the year or two before, really. But literally, all of a sudden, my physical health went out the window, along with my mental health. And for 2 weeks before the final, I had terrible upset stomach. I couldn't be more than 10 yards away from the toilet. Just really, always, like, it was like the severest case of gastroenteritis and all that sort of stuff. And it was like, it was getting closer to the final, and I was getting more depressed because I think, I'm not going to go here. I'm not going to go. And I even said to me missus on the Thursday, said, I don't think I can make the plane. I just can't. I can't take a chance. And she said, "Keith, you got to go. This is what you do." She said, "Just dose yourself up with Imodium." I don't know if you have Imodium in Australia or not, but
it's like it's a tablet that stops you needing the toilet. And they're pretty good, aren't they?
Correct.
Not sponsored by Imodium.
If you have enough of them.
Yeah, but they're pretty good.
If you have enough of them, my book's sponsored by Imodium. Yeah, if you have enough of them, they block you up. Do you know what I mean?
It's like sticking this microphone up your ass, isn't it? Just.
I like that. Yeah, let me just see, mate. Yeah, see what I've got in here. Yeah, just in case I need to go. But yeah, what I did was I made the decision to go, and it cleared my head a little bit. But I got on the plane from here, from the Isle of Man to London Gatwick, and I had like a cup of tea and a biscuit, and that stayed where it should do, which was fine. Got to Gatwick Airport and I met 3 of my mates, and 2 of them were going straight to Madrid, and me and my other mate were going to Alicante first and staying the night in Alicante. So when the 2 lads got to Madrid, off to Madrid, I was just left with me, and he's probably my oldest football mate, Zil. I've been going to match with him since '85, and he goes, "You all right, Keith?" I went, "No, I'm in a terrible way. I'm just." He went, "What? You can't be, because I've always been the one who's took everyone else's problems on. I'd just fallen over." But literally 5 minutes after telling them, I was having a bottle of beer in my hand, and I felt so much better just for saying it. And then the following morning, we met my brother in Alicante, my older brother Ian, and he said, "You're all right?" I went, "No, I've been in a really bad place," and blah, blah, blah. And same story. He said, "I thought you might have been like," and we had a good chat. And I felt so much better. Forgot about my stomach, felt so much better. And I had a wonderful weekend with all the right people. But on the Monday morning when I come back, I was working for a bank at the time. I used one of them wellbeing helplines and started back on the path to wellness. I got like some real help. And ultimately what it was Hillsborough caught up with me after 30 years. I'd always dealt with it really well. I'd written about it in my first book. It had caught up with me, and I ended up needing proper help, proper sort of counselling and therapy. And I got that off a giant of a fella over here, a guy called Adrian, and really helped me out. And it was like, there was things that I said that I've never seen, which I actually did. I just blocked them out. Your mind's an amazing bit of kit, which to protect you, it blocks stuff out. But ultimately, not dealing with it didn't help. So I got that help, but then it also helped me with my dad when my dad passed away as well. I probably never really dealt with that properly because, everything goes back to normal quite quick. And when you've got kids, you think more about the kids. So you're probably not as kind to yourself as you probably would be if you didn't. You had more people to look after, and work had been very good with me when my dad was ill and things like that. So you'd always go, "I've got to look after work because they've been really good to me." Well, you should have just took a month off and protected yourself really. So that was a big help. And actually, things that have happened since I've probably been able to deal with, like what happened in Paris and things like that. I was much better equipped to deal with them because I'd had this counselling and I knew how to deal with it, and the therapy as well. So the things from the past. So I'm a massive advocate in talking about it, and being there for other people to talk to as well. I just think it's a real thing. That there's a massive push over here with men's mental health. It's the biggest killer of men. Suicide is. And living on an island where the rates are really high. But there's lots of great people doing great things with like charities where men can go and talk. And I think it's really important to say that feeling down and feeling low are temporary states. So they do pass and you can get better, but you need to A, be kind to yourself, and B, do the talking and talk. And, you don't need people to have answers. So if you're the listener on the other end, you don't need to have answers for the person. You just need to show a listening and care and empathy. So I was lucky with the right people, amazing wife, do you know what I mean? So supportive. And I think that's why I put it in the book, because I thought, okay, well, there's people there who think there's no way out. There's not. Well, there is, it's just sometimes you do need proper help though. talking to people close to you is not enough. But actually signposting where you can find the help is really important. So Liverpool got me back on track again because, it's like they won that night in Madrid. They won the Champions League final. And at full time, the tears just come. I think it was that pent-up emotion sobbing my heart out. And what I did in Istanbul was after we won, I rang my dad up. Because we always did that, call him after the match. And in Istanbul, when I rang him up, I'm outside the stadium, something like 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning. And I'm talking to him, going, I'm made up. It's just like Rome, wasn't it? And blah, blah, blah. You've got this one, and Istanbul's your home. And then I said, yeah. He went, take care of yourself going home, lad. He went, and by the way, Rome was still better. It was number 1. So
No way.
He still had Rome over me.
Not having it.
Yeah, he still went, yeah, Rome's better than Istanbul. So, because he's gone then. Who do I ring? So I rang me missus. She was the substitute and she was brilliant. Like, just to go, we did it. Like, because actually when you win something, you feel part of it.
Yeah.
You win it because you're there. You know, that sort of stuff, yeah.
It's a funny one, that, Keith, isn't it? Yeah, the reaching out to your dad, because I've always done the same thing. If I was away or whatever, I know my dad would have watched the game. Ring me dad.
Yeah.
Oh, what happened there? Was that a penalty? Or, you know what I mean? We just sort of break the game down.
You go over it again, wouldn't you? Yeah.
You break the game down. Because I seen as well, talking of like the routine of that as well. Because am I right in saying you've got a brick there now at Anfield with your dad's name on?
Yeah. Yeah.
So
and
that's
become
on there. That's become part of the routine now, hasn't it, for you and your lad?
Yeah. You go and do it. And like I went up the ground last Saturday to to lay some flowers and stuff like that for Diogo and to have a look and stuff like that. And actually, I was quite lucky. I could lay the flowers right next to my dad's stone, and it was just a nice little connection. That it's like you go and on his stone, it's got Bob Salmon. We meet you by the wall, because that was our phrase that we used to say to him at every game. Meet you by the wall. So because he sat in the main stand, we sat in the cop. And at the end of every game, whether I go home with him or just say hello and it wasn't that great, meet you by the wall. That's our phrase. And one day we'll meet him by the wall. It'll happen. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
And it'll be fine. Do you know what I mean? And yeah, so now you go, like when he beat Tottenham, went over and touched his stone. Yeah, we done it, and I could hear him going, "Yeah, I know, dickhead."
Yeah, but I was still there in Rome in '77. He was saying,
"Here you go."
No, it's
He's
what,
always
mate.
got Rome over me.
There'll always be Rome, mate. There'll always be Rome, and
yeah.
But
do you know what, Tom? Is that sorry, mate. When you win stuff, your first thoughts are not for you. They're for the ones who've gone before us.
Yeah.
You go, I just wish they could see that, or I wish they were there just to share that one more moment.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It's special.
Yeah, absolutely. I remember exactly the same thing when we won the European Cup. My granddad had died on Boxing Day. It's funny how things connect for you, because I was watching the Newcastle game at Anfield, and Lovren had just scored, I think, a volley, and my granddad died like a couple of minutes after that. And when we won the European Cup that year, that's exactly the first emotion that I had. I was gutted that my granddad didn't get to see it.
Yeah.
In one way.
Yeah, that's it.
But then another side of me was like, but he did get to see it.
Yeah. He sees everything.
And I'm not like religious, to be honest with you, but You know, like I do think you take the people you love with you. You know,
Yeah,
um,
I think you're right, Tom.
you know, and they stay with you, like,
Yeah,
but yeah, no, look, thanks for talking to us about that, because mental health is such an important thing to me personally, um, and I know, like, it is to Jack, my brother. He's really big on it. Wayne, who's a regular guest, he's really involved in a men's mental health charity over here
brilliant.
in
Yeah,
Australia.
brilliant.
Um, so
Because you know what, I think a lot of people do want to talk about it. It's just to go, I don't have a platform, but give them a platform for it. Give
yeah,
them the right environment where they feel safe and secure, and no one's judging you.
yeah,
That's the thing. You've got no fear. You know, the biggest thing you can ever do is take that first step through the front door or admit you need some help.
yeah, yeah.
It's not a weakness. It's a strength. That's it.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
I think that's one of the challenges with it, Keith, is, um, I think a lot of men sort of are not the best communicators anyway. So communicating something that makes them feel vulnerable is harder. But as you
Yeah.
say, there's loads of avenues out there for you know, professionals who you can talk to. And sometimes it is just a case of speaking to one of your mates, isn't it? And getting it out there a bit, like,
Yeah.
um, really, really important. So no, thanks for talking to us about that. I thought I'd ask, before we drift off into your late evening and my mid morning, um, if you the I mean the book, there's something that the cop wants you to know. Um, if you were to write another sort of chapter in that book, for what you hope to have in the next 12 months with Liverpool Football Club and the relationship with your lad, what would it be?
That's a good question, but a tough question to answer really, because most of your thoughts at the moment are it's like uncharted territory, unfortunately. With like with Diogo Jota dying and his brother Andre, this is a unique time, really. And it's not about football; it's about that. I remember when I heard the news um, about him. Sorry, about them. um, that day, the Thursday, we got it very first thing in the morning here, like about 9:30 in the morning. Just you couldn't believe what was pinging on your phone and what was on the news and stuff like that. But outside of my dad and dying and all that, the events of Hillsborough and or anything had to do with it, outside that, it's probably the saddest day of my life because he had everything, and I think it's the chapter to be written is probably the toughest chapter that you'll see, because here's a lad who had the world at his feet, just being married, beautiful wife, 3 wonderful little kids. He just won the league. He was getting fit again, and he loved being here, loved being part of us, and we loved him. He's got one of the best songs ever, and the sheer joy of watching him sing that on the day they lift the league and stuff like that. And you go, that's why you can never take anything for granted, because you think these people are untouchable because they're so rich and nothing will ever be an issue, and it shook everybody to the core. I know a lot of lads who don't know what to think, and you don't know I think a lot of people are so sad. And the chapter for the year ahead is like one of these where I don't think you can call what will happen football wise or what will happen with people's emotions and things like that. I've worked in places before where we've lost people. Do you know what I mean? And the Monday morning not there. There's a strange dynamic between colleagues. Some cope really well and some don't, sort of thing. So the chapter ahead is really difficult to read. Actually, I think it's one of those. I don't think you can go, I know what's going to happen over the next 9 months. Can have a good run in the cup, or I don't think you can write it. I think from a personal perspective, what I can see for Charlie is that he gets to be in Liverpool more, hopefully, because he's done his A-levels. He's just waiting for the results. He gets the right results, he goes to University of Liverpool. If he doesn't quite get the right results, he's got another 2 universities in Liverpool or around Liverpool. So he'll be on to Liverpool. He'll go the match more. He'll suck up his passion more than ever before. And he loves it. Do you know what I mean? And I love the fact he loves it. Every week and hour he's thinking about them. I get fed up with the transfer talk. Obviously, I'm a bit old for that now. But the next year is his year. It's like a really formative one. And one of the things that he's done this year was we went to watch Bruce Springsteen in Prague the other week, which was brilliant. It was great, and it was a dad and lad trip, and it was based on the football. That's what we do. You know what I mean? But he left me in Prague, and he got on the train. He travelled the train for 2 weeks, because that's what I'd done after Hillsborough. And that's what we've done as a family as well. We go and see what's over there. And the fact is, the football gives you that. Like you say, you go to these weird little places you'd never, ever go. I hope that's his journey. And he'll meet people on his way that'll be friends for life. And so I can't tell you what Liverpool's chapter will be, but his chapter's got to be exciting. Whereas my chapter is now probably this is towards the end of my active chapter of following Liverpool, if you want to. Someone's saying, well, you got to write another book now. I go, I don't think so. Getting to 60, which I am this year, still doing this sort of stuff. Not many people do that. It's probably the right time to pass the baton, and I'll still get an away game here and there, and I'm still welcoming the home games and stuff like that. But your energy saps, and then other things in life will take over. So maybe this might be the natural end and the natural beginning for him. Yeah.
Well, it sounds
and
like
it's not. I'm not sad about that. That's
just the way it is, isn't it? It sounds like the next book is going to be written by Charlie Salmon, not by yourself.
Yeah, he's going to write it.
But you know what?
And then his dad will play big parts in it.
Yeah. You'll pop up in a couple of chapters, but that's the life of a football fan. I mean, not to make it sound too grandiose, but your dad passed it on to you. You passed it on to your lad, and your lad will pass it on to his kids, and that's what it is. And talking about,
that's the order of things. Yeah,
that's the order. And we've got a special episode celebrating Jota, which I think actually will already be out by the time this comes out, Keith. But talking about people who've lost people at work and how it affects different people. But this is a whole different kettle of fish, isn't it, mate? Because what we don't have when it happens to us is 60,000 people every week reminding us that we've lost that person. So it's going to be an interesting. It's going to be an interesting. It's going to be an interesting chapter, and I think, I think I don't think for me personally, I don't think it's really in there yet.
No.
Yeah, I think it'll pop up in certain ways at different times, I'm sure. Well, you know what, Keith? Let's leave on a really positive note. Where's been your favourite? Pot of champions, which is very true. But where's been your favourite place to go as a Red?
I think it surprised people because you can have the match and stuff like that. And people are always surprised when you don't say it's Istanbul, because it's actually not Istanbul. My favourite one to go to was Kiev, actually. Kiev was an amazing place, and we'd gone to a place called Lviv the night before, which is a town which is 5 hours west by fast train. Like, Ukraine's a huge country, like. And Lviv on the Friday night was amazing because there was football fans around, and there was a welcome by the local supporters club, because they've got a supporters club, which was nuts, like. But most of it was just normal people out on a Friday night doing normal things, promenade and, dancing in like squares, and it was like, oh, it was brilliant. Like, loved Lviv. And then Kiev was just an amazing place. It like had half of that Eastern European bloc type thing that you'd expect, but then the other half was like the boulevards of Paris and Barcelona. It was like a strange place, but it was great. You know what I mean? And I come away from Kiev just going, that's my favourite trip ever. And it might also be because I was going with people for a change, because often I end up going on my own and meeting people there at like Istanbul. But I was on a journey with, I think there was 6 of us going all together. Like, there was 3 or 4 from the Isle of Man, and then there was my mates from across and things like that. But people were joining, they all had adventures. Like, one went via Lublin in Poland, another one went via Warsaw, and then someone else had been via Moldova, and then Belarus. And when you met together, everyone had all these stories, and it was like, it was great. It was just great. And I never even seen the stuff at Shevchenko Park with Jamie Webster. I never got to it, because we were having too good a time drinking like horseradish vodka in the middle of Kiev. And it was like, there was a Mo Salah lookalike walking around and all this sort of stuff.
Yeah, I think he's a steward, him, I think that guy who looks like Salah is he's a steward in the Cop.
Well, at the time, he was called Mohammed, and he was from Cairo, he said. So whether he was blagging us and we were just too drunk to notice, I don't know.
It's like my mates call me Razor, because I look like Razor Ruddock.
Ruddock.
Yeah. Unfortunately, no, Kiev for me, mate, was I mean, I've told the story on the pod before, but me and my mate Adam nearly got absolutely done in Kiev. So I've got like mixed feelings about Kiev as well.
Yeah.
But that was my first European Cup final. In fact, it was the only European Cup final I've been in the ground.
In the ground for you.
Yeah, in the ground. I went to Madrid, but I went to Fan Park, and but you're right, the city's full of culture. Like, some of the architecture is stunning. It's so cheap, you can't spend your money, can you?
That's right. Yeah, you couldn't even on cup final day. Mad.
Yeah, couldn't spend your money. Like, I told the story on the pod. Like, me and my mate Adam got like a 30-minute Uber, and it was like £8 or something, just stupid. I was like, £8, you know what I mean? Yeah, no, it was Kiev was an interesting one. And one of the things, Keith, is we were flying back from Kiev. We had one of them weird routes. Like we always did the same. We went arse about tit and but we were on the plane, and I'm walking down the plane, and I see this fella. I'm like, oh, I know him. And it was Henrik Larsson. And
oh, really?
Yeah, he was doing punditry in Kiev. Anyway, we get off the plane. We were swapping at Copenhagen, and he was there, and we were there talking to him for like 5 minutes, and it's funny the things that you remember, because like just standing having a chat with this geezer for 5 minutes, who turns out to be a really nice fella, was like one of the things that I took from the trip. You know what I mean? First European Cup final. And what stands out was Henrik Larsson, a former Man United player of all things.
Don't count that bit.
Yeah, I know. And you know what as well? I always had a little soft spot for Henrik Larsson as a player, playing for Celtic and that, I did like him. Keith, I think we've covered a lot of the things that we wanted to talk about on this podcast. I'd love to get you back on, mate, if you'd be keen for it, and we can talk more about that sort of coverage from We Had Dreams and Songs to Sing, your previous book.
Yeah.
And we can look more at like Istanbul. But mate, I wish you all the best.
That's a podcast on its own.
That's a podcast on its own for sure. And I wish you all the best of luck with this book. There's something that the cop wants you to know, Tom. Mate. I hope it's a massive success for you, mate. Obviously, people who are listening to this podcast in Australia and beyond, I'll put a link in the show notes. If you want to find the book, then you can find it. I think it's priced in Australia at around $40. You can get it from a couple of different places.
It's on Amazon, I think, isn't it, in Australia and stuff like that?
Yeah. And if you can find a copy that isn't signed, it's worth $1,000 because they're all signed. No, I'm only joking. But mate, look, Keith, thank you so much, mate, for coming on. It's been really good talking to you about the Reds, mate.
Yeah, it's been great, mate.
It's been really good. I can't wait for the new season.
Before you go as well, just tell everyone as well that actually, when you lived in Liverpool, you lived 500 yards away from my mum, didn't you? That was the funny bit, wasn't it?
Round the corner,
when I got home last weekend, I sent you a picture of it as well, didn't I?
Yeah, it was scary, that. It gave me PTSD. I woke up and I was like, what's going on here? Round the corner. Like,
yeah, literally round the corner.
Your ma probably like, we played like, we went round on Mizzy night and everything and trick or treating and stuff like that.
I probably went to match with your dad. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, probably.
Because I used to go to match with the old fellas as well.
Where's your season ticket?
In the middle of the Cop, 205.
Our ticket's 105. But I used to go up to 205
really?
for the European games, yeah. You know, for a bit more atmosphere.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So I was probably the guy.
People, don't you?
I was probably the guy standing in between two seats that annoys everyone. just crammed in, even though I've paid for the ticket already.
Yeah.
Well, Keith, look, mate, thanks for coming on. Thanks for coming on and talking about such sensitive things, I guess, mate. Mental health's really important. Is really important to us. We've got a new thing which me brother and I, Jack, we used to do on a previous podcast called Message a Mate, and the idea is that sometimes all it takes to change your day or someone else's day is to send them a message or to receive a message. So what we ask is that people, when they finish watching or listening to this pod, they just send a message to someone they haven't spoke to in a bit of a while. And just touch base and see how they're doing. So we ask people to do that. And Keith, I would say for you to do it, but I know it's like 11 o'clock there now at night. So maybe when you get up in the morning, send a message to one of the lads you haven't spoke to in a while. Thanks so much to everyone for watching this podcast. I hope you've enjoyed it. It's been one of my favourite chats actually with Keith. Do have a look on our social medias at Reds Down Under Podcast. There's always loads of content there. Keith, thanks so much for coming on, mate. I'll see you again soon. Up the Reds.
We are the Reds Down Under, and this is our podcast.